Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Friday, October 17th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you're someone that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used as a tool to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. First off, a couple clarifications. Number one, the candlestick that you see right there will be moving around and changing. That is because the market's still open for a small amount of time. But I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. Second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks here represents 30 minutes worth of time. So ticker symbol number one, we were looking at NVTS, and this one really continues with the overall uptrend. I've been tracking this one very routinely, and once again put in higher highs and higher lows today. Now this is a little tricky from a presentation standpoint, because if you're some sort of day trader, flipper, scalper, and you bought right there, and your plan was to buy and sell within, 10 minutes, well then yeah, from that angle, things are looking pretty rough. But from the overarching standpoint, everything is still perfectly fine. And I think the easiest way to see this is just to get this pattern drawn into play. So again, sure, overall today, the price did pull back, represented by that resistance area right there. But in all actuality, this is just helping us draw our pattern here, because then we have the lower part of the pattern right there, that area of support. So let's change that to green for support. And then just mapping out the pattern, making it easier to see. Let's keep it one color. So we have our area of resistance. We have our area of support. We have the nice upwards move right there. Then for you golfers out there, try to make it a little bit more visual. But the golf hole down here, we have an overall bull pennant pattern. Now, just because something's bullish does not mean for sure guaranteed it's going to do something like this and then get more momentum to the upside. But is it at least a valid question to throw out there as a possibility? Absolutely. So if you like quality uptrends, bull pennants, then definitely keep an eye on this one for Friday. Next one here, BITF. Now this will mean a little bit more to those of you that watched the video from yesterday, but if you did, I talked about this pattern here, the rising wedge, and how it suggested that a pullback was coming. And today, surprise, surprise, a pullback did indeed play out. So overall, that pattern did its job, so we'll start afresh now. And again, from a big picture standpoint, everything is still perfectly fine. If you are a day trader, flipper, scalper, and you bought right there, and your plan was to buy and sell again in 10 minutes, well then yes, from that angle, things are not looking so good. But from the grand scheme of it all, even with the bigger pullback today, everything is still hanging in there. So the next level of support to watch moving forward, if this pullback does continue, right down here at this former breakout point around the $5.10 mark. If the price falls below there, then I'm not saying the chart's destroyed, but that's where the chart does start to open up a little bit. And I'm not saying it's headed straight down to that pink line right there, the 200 period moving average, but that would start to then become more of an important level from, again, an overarching standpoint. But to be fair, as of right now, the price hasn't even tested that level, let alone broken down below it. If there is any sort of attempted curl back upwards, first key area of resistance to watch, going to be right there, that purple line there, the 50 period simple moving average, and that's currently valued at $5.68. And then after that, yeah, you can start to focus on some of these other areas, but one hurdle at a time. And I think the main hurdle right now is just to simply to build a higher base. Doesn't necessarily have to go back up, doesn't have to necessarily break any levels of resistance right now, in my opinion, but just stabilizing, building a higher base, I would say is the most important thing. Next one here, ticker symbol IVF, and this one was pretty much quiet all day long. You can see that majority of the morning, nothing going on, and then the afternoon happened. The volume or the news was out, the volume came pouring in. So yes, this definitely is going to be one where if you like active, volume, like good volatility, a lot of people got to think we'll be watching this one here on Friday. So first key area of resistance that you got to think a lot of people are going to be watching is just getting that resistance trend line in play right there. So keep an eye on that. If there is any sort of pullbacks, then the first level of support that you got to think people will be watching down here right around that level of $1.40, and then after $1.40, next key level after that down there right around the $1.22 mark. So keep an eye on those couple levels. If the price does pull back, maybe there'll be some sort of bull pennant, but I think that's a little too soon. I don't know, maybe some would call that a bull pennant already. I'll leave that up to you. But overall, point being that if you like this price range and you like great movement, you like very high volume, then keep an eye on IVF for Friday. Next one here, NIO. Rough day on this one, but to be fair, actually a very impressive day because this day started off with a big old gap down. Price went that low, and then by the time things had, pretty much the end of the day, very, very nice recovery. Now, whether or not this is a genuine bounce remains to be seen, but you still got to give credit where credit's due. From the lows to where it was able to battle back to, quite the impressive movement here. And now moving forward, the next key battleground of resistance, going to be all about that 50 period moving average, which I talked about in a previous one. Current value of that 50 period on this one right here at $6.92. So keep an eye on that. And then in terms of areas of support, I'm not going to call this a do or die level per se, but definitely want to see the price stay above 663, because if the price were to come down here and then break down below it, now all of a sudden you're starting to, getting closer and closer to the territory where somebody could make the argument of, well, if it gets down to that area right here, now all of a sudden the price has made a bounce and then dropped right back to where it started, which is not exactly a sign of a genuine bounce. But right now, you could make the argument that it is a genuine bounce, and you still can, as long as the price at least shows some signs of progress. And in this situation, the quote-unquote sign of progress that I think would make the chart look the strongest is staying up here above 663. Next one here, MIRA. Once more, one of these where it all depends on your strategy and such. If you were a day trader and you bought there and you're wanting to buy and sell within 10 minutes, yes, things are looking pretty rough. But from the overarching standpoint, still have a chance to build a higher basis. And then just from a kind of a technical standpoint, you got to think a lot of people have drawn that trend line. And I make that comment because when a lot of people are watching the same areas and wondering the same thing, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want, it can produce some very dynamic movement. So while I'm not saying anything is guaranteed, is it a valid argument, is a valid suggestion to throw out there that if the price can push up through that level, that area right there could produce upside buying pressure? I think that is a more than valid question to suggest. So keep an eye on that as an area of resistance. And then as far as levels of support are concerned, definitely the main level I would say moving forward right there around that $1.78 mark. But no doubt about it, great movement today, great volume. But let's see if the price can maybe get a push up through that resistance trend line on Friday. Real quick, want to take a break and help you overcome a very common problem out there, and that is people wanting to make unlimited day trades every day, but not being able to because of the pattern day trading rule, or even if you're using a cash account, you run out of cash, and therefore you run out of trades that you can make. Well, you can avoid all that with the market that I've been using, and it's something where there's no pattern day trading rule, and quite frankly, this market moves better anyways than penny stocks and low floats and small caps and all of that. But I do understand if all this sounds a little too good to be true, what's the catch? Totally get it, which is why I say come check out my live stream. Start every day at 11 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. And you can see this with your very own eyes. Ask me questions, and I'd be happy to answer those for you, because I totally understand if you're skeptical, but I put my money where my mouth is. This is exactly what I'm doing. So I would definitely say come check it out at the live stream and watch it with your very own eyes. Next one here, YYAI, and nice pattern here. One of my favorites. So let's get this pattern drawn into play. So we have an area of resistance right here. We have this area of support right there. And then this is what I would call a falling wedge pattern. Now, you may think a falling wedge is a bearish pattern, but actually it's the rising wedge, which is the bearish pattern. The falling wedge is the bullish. Now, as I mentioned already previously, just because something is in a bullish pattern does not mean for sure guaranteed if it breaks, it's going to make a big move to the upside. But is it at least a valid question, a valid scenario to throw out there as a possibility? Absolutely. So if you like penny stocks, you like falling wedges, certainly keep an eye on it. Next one here, PLUG, and a very brutal day on this one. Started off oh so strong, came up here, got rejected from that area of resistance right there. So a classic double top pattern right there, and then just got absolutely destroyed down to the the bearish side of things. And now the price is starting to potentially reach some very, very important levels. And this first level, let me map this out a little bit more, comes for a couple different reasons. So again, green for support, and that is this area down here at 335. Why is this important? Well, let's go through the history of things, and you can see back here, 335 acted as support. Didn't hit exactly, but generally speaking, support. But then right here, this level is also essentially the value of that pink line, the 200 period moving average. And just from a charting standpoint, if you were bullish, then that 200 period moving average is certainly one of those levels where you want to see the price stay up above it. And as I speak right now, during the last 30 minutes, you can see that the price actually is continuing to drop. So this is having a very rough final 30 minutes of the day. That doesn't mean that this 335 mark is going to be tested on Friday, but I would certainly say it's a more than reasonable question to throw out there as a possibility. So yeah, the big question, at least in my mind, is if that 335 mark is tested, does it bounce again, or the bear is just going to pummel down through there? So that's definitely, like I said, in my mind, the most interesting dynamic from the support side of things. If there is any sort of attempted bounce, that first key level of resistance right there at 363. Next one here, RGTI, and this one is finally starting to show that it's human a little bit. I mean, for the longest time, this thing has just been an absolute beast. So from that standpoint, the overall chart is still plenty in the upwards direction. It's pulled back a bit. So again, if you're a day trader and you bought there or there, then yeah, from that angle, things are looking very rough. From a broad scope of things, the price still has plenty of opportunity to build a higher base, and that's ultimately what you want to see. So that is where moving forward now, that ideal level of support, when you say, Clay, what would make this look the best moving forward? That would be if the price can now continue to stabilize right here around the $47 mark, which it's been doing very nicely. If it doesn't, next key area of support, that again, not a do or die level, but that would be, ideally you'd want to see the price hold above, would be there at 43.65. And then after that, yeah, you'd want to start to pay more close attention to that pink line. But again, as of right now, assuming you care about the broad scope of things, the price is not only still above that 200 period moving average, it's still well up above it. In the event there is any sort of bounce, first key level of resistance to keep an eye on right there around that $50 mark. And then after that, next key level is going to be that the 50 period moving average right there, currently valued at 52. We'll call it 65. So yes, not the greatest day today, but from the grand scheme of it all, still plenty of opportunity to build a higher base and then continue on with the overall uptrend. Next one, ELWS. Pretty rough looking chart. Again, overall, the chart still got a chance to build a higher base. However, I mean, this is rough. Big move up and then all these gains almost given away, but they haven't totally been given away. So some people like these where things start great and then things start to get pretty ugly, and then they just wait for everybody to wave the white flag. Because if you've traded long enough, I'm sure you've been there where it seems like, okay, fine, this thing is never ever going to go up again, and then as soon as you sell, then it goes up. I've been there more than once, I'll put it that way. But that's just general, the way the markets work. So it's one of those things where, yes, you got to think that people are getting ready to wave the white flag. So does it level out and then maybe head back upwards? Once again, a risky situation because, yes, this is a nasty pullback. But sometimes these things, if you can nail it right, you can definitely get nice, movements as things curl back upwards. So these are not situations where if you're not going to have a stop loss and be disciplined, I mean, you shouldn't be trading anyways. But you definitely shouldn't be trading situations like this. But yes, big move up, nasty pullback. But yeah, can it start to go sideways and then maybe get a bounce in the upwards direction? If you like to play these sorts of scenarios, then certainly keep an eye on it. Next one here, WHWK, and I'm going to go through this one quicker because I want to respect your time, and you literally just heard me talk about this. So same exact idea that I just talked about. Great move up, big pullback, but at least at this point in time, this has started to go sideways. Does sideways mean that this is for sure the bottom? It doesn't, but it's certainly a more than valid scenario to throw out there that, hey, you know what, maybe this thing is getting ready to curl back up. Case in point, let's just say the price was still just dropping, and I'm sitting here saying, hey, it's looking like this could be the bottom. You'd be totally justified to say, what are you talking about? Based on what? The price is literally still just going down. But that's not the case here. It is at least going sideways. So again, guaranteed? No. But is it plausible? Absolutely. So if you like these scenarios where you get these nasty pullbacks and then you're looking for those moments where, okay, maybe everybody waves the white flag and that's when it's about to head back up and you like this price range, then certainly keep an eye on it. So that wraps up the top 10 list. But again, if you are wanting a new market that moves even better than the penny stocks and the small caps and all that sort of stuff, and you don't want to have to worry about the pattern day trend rule, you want ultimately very little of your capital at risk, then definitely check out the link that's been on the screen. Or if you're just highly skeptical, which like I said earlier, I totally understand, then come swing by the live stream, check it out, watch it with your very own eyes, and ask me any questions that you may have. But I've been doing it. It's absolutely amazing. And I'm quite confident that you will enjoy it too and find a whole lot of benefit to it. So like I said, swing by the live stream and, just say, hey, Clay, I was watching your top 10 videos. And I always like to make that connection and then ask away with any sort of questions that you may have. So thanks for watching. As always, make sure you hit that like button and hopefully I'll see you on the live stream.